Welcome to Philly Fortune Talks with your host, Jake Penny, where the city's brightest minds share the secrets behind their success. Are you ready to be inspired?
Ever wonder what it takes to turn a basement gym into a thriving fitness community? Meet a Marine Corps veteran, father of four, and the driving force behind Black Ops Fitness, Wilmington's premier gym, Antonio DeAscanis. With 10 years of experience as an entrepreneur, his journey began in a basement and has expanded through sheer determination and faith. Today, Black Ops Fitness is more than just a gym. It's a community, it's a tribe, it's a team, and a family dedicated to pushing boundaries and never giving up. Join us to learn from the leader who lives by the belief that life is impossible if you only give up. It's a pleasure to have you, Antonio.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have some fun.
So, give the listeners a brief, synopsis of why Black Ops Fitness. What was the vision? What was the dream? How did it all start?
Sure. So I'll go as brief as I can because I'm a talker, so I can go on tangents. But essentially, just from the beginning, kind of struggled in school, wasn't really focused. Knew something was up like freshman year. I remember staring to the side during one of the classes, and I just totally wasn't listening. And I was just like, I'm just not really checked into whatever's going on around me in school. And so that was kind of like the first taste of something was a little bit different with me. I got wayward, did some following of the wrong crowd and all that, and wasn't living up to my potential or how I was raised. And so I didn't have a college plan. So coming out of high school, I was like, man, how can I fix this? How can I get back on track? I didn't have any money. So I was working as a busboy, but even working as a busboy, I learned some things in the entrepreneurial space about hustle, people, money exchange, and just creative individuals. That's basically a pirate ship in a restaurant in the back of it. It was a really good time, but that was obviously not where I needed to go. So I got a business reply card from the Marine Corps and sent that back in, didn't tell my parents. And from then, the recruiters came after me hardcore. Went to Parris Island, South Carolina for boot camp, and I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. And the first 3 years, I was kind of I was just in a coasting pattern, something wasn't right, you know what I mean? And I didn't understand what was going on. In the Marine Corps, I thought I should be living to a much higher standard. So I kind of had this moment of clarity where I knew I needed to start challenging myself on all of my fears and, things that I was uncomfortable with, like public speaking, leadership, getting in front of groups. So I started volunteering for a bunch of stuff, and it really changed the game for me in the Marine Corps. And I worked in a training office. I was lucky enough to get when I went to Virginia, they put me in a training office because the place I was supposed to go was full. And that was just a game changer for me because it was a small office, but I got to do whatever I wanted as far as training. So physical fitness, martial arts instruction, I went and did that. Became color sergeant of the color guard. Just a lot of cool opportunities that were sitting there that no one was taking. And so I was able to expand my arsenal of what I had in my weaponry, essentially, and got in front of groups with the martial arts instruction and really enjoyed that, the big group training. And then from there, I went to San Diego, California to be a Marine Corps, drill instructor. And that's kind of when I hit my peak in my career. And it just it was so challenging physically and mentally, but I just felt like I was just flying. I just loved how much I had to work and how many things I had to overcome and all the challenges that it came with it. And then the fulfillment of, training young men from across the country. So when I was doing that, one of my platoons, they drew a picture of me at the end of the graduation. And it was they handed it to the drill instructors and we're no longer eating their head off, at that point. And they had a picture of a whistle and something else. But to them, the feeling they got from me was that I was very fitness oriented because you got to get these little fat kids into shape and you got to figure out ways to do it in 3 months. And so that challenge kind of spoke to me and I went, full force after it. So that was the kind of, from an outside party, kind of showing me that there was something in me in the fitness world. I stayed out in California. I got into DJing, got caught up in the club scene. I was I got to get the hell out of here. So came back East Coast. My brother gave me a job at his engineering firm. And it was a great opportunity. I was learning cool things in engineering, civil engineering, but was doing land surveying. It's a lot of standing still behind tripods, which is I'm not very good at standing still. So I just was man, I feel like I'm called to do something different. And at the time I had gotten a side job as a personal trainer at night and I'd found CrossFit and I was about 31, 32, but I had a significant back injury. And the sport kind of passed me by and left me behind. And so I was all right, well, I want to do my own thing. I've seen personal training side of things. I've seen CrossFit. I have my Marine Corps experience. There's a lot to like, and there's a lot that I didn't like. And so I had met my wife at the time, and she was super supportive. And we just basically ordered a bunch of stuff from Rogue Fitness, and it went to the wrong address. It didn't go to my house. It went to my parents. So they sat me out back, and they were like, "You need to send all this away." And I'm, old school Irish, Catholic, Italian family. You listen to your parents, or that's it, period. So, but I was like, I can't listen to them this time. I gotta, so my friend let me start in his 1-car garage. And then we moved to another 1-car garage, to a public track, to a storage unit, because we heard bands were playing in storage units. So we figured we could run the gym. And then I took my first jump in 2015 and opened my first location.
That's awesome. So what would you say, like, inspired you, or where did the vision come from for Black Ops Fitness, especially the name too?
Sure. So I was working at the engineering firm, and my brain was cooking on other things, and I was still doing the work, but I knew I wanted to create a brand, and black has always been, my look and my favorite color, and it's classic. It never goes out of style. And I have that hardcore edge from the Marine Corps and being a drill instructor. So I wanted something urban and grungy industrial, because I knew I was, off the beaten path, and I have a chip on my shoulder. And that's a huge part of the brand story, is just like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it with less, and we're going to get more done. And I heard of Blackwater at the time, or what was it? BlackRock?
BlackRock. Yep.
And one of my brother's friends, she's a mom, she worked for them. And I was like, I want something like BlackRock, but not BlackRock. And then at the time, there wasn't many companies that I had seen that were doing abbreviations. And so I wanted something to be Google unique. So I was like, if I can abbreviate Black Ops, that could be cool, because Black Ops spelled out. And at the time, the video game was big, and I never even played it. So I had nothing to do with like the background of where my head was at. But I knew if we could abbreviate Black Ops, and I looked it on Google and there was nothing there, I was like, I can what do we call it? Trademark it. So that was kind of my vision. I opened an LLC before I ever had a AdMat or kettlebell. So for like 8 months, I just had this empty random LLC and locked down some names. And so I just had a vision, to put it all together. And then the skulls were kind of like, obviously it's hardcore. It never goes out of style as well. But it's also like the idea and reminder that we're all going to die, and I'm a religious man. And that's just kind of a cool message to say, like, we have to live to our full potential in life. And that's kind of the story of it.
Yeah. Live to the full potential today.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So, Black Ops Fitness has grown from a humble beginning, like you said, a garage in your buddy's spare car garage, to a thriving community. What maybe key strategies have been essential to achieving this level of success that you are now, with a big community? And you have, how many square foot is your building now that you have?
It's like 6 on the floor, 7 up top, 8 in the front. So probably like 8,000 total.
Yeah, it's big as shit. So, what key strategies maybe have been essential for achieving this success?
Yeah. So I just want to touch on that big space first, because I probably will forget it if I don't. But one of the challenges, it's my third location. I don't have 3 separate. I grew to my third location. One of the biggest challenges of growing to 8,000 square feet from a 1-car garage is the intimate vibes. Like, the reason the brand was successful is because we grew in small little spaces, in like rugged areas. We grew in the back of the hood. We grew in an old auto body shop. But it's just that closeness of humans sweating, bleeding together. You know what I mean? Like, and the strength you get from that. It sounds gross at first, but we're very clean, so don't worry about that. But it's something about the intimacy of like being together, being close. And that's something we put into the brand of like helping each other break your gear down, wiping down, the benches right away. Like, when visitors come in and they see us like in action, and they see the end of class, and they see them moving like a unit, and they're like, damn, you guys are sharp here. So kind of like that attention to detail with our facility, and how we carried ourselves to always like strive towards excellence was a big part of it. And then when I got to that huge location, our current location, the challenge was, how can we create small gym vibes in a large space? And so I would say I feel pretty confident that we successfully have done that at this year, which we've been there for 4 years. But over the years, some of the secret sauce was, I was raised right. So from the top down, leading with the heart, leading with compassion and care for athletes. So it's essentially healthcare. And they're coming in, and it's so much more. It's a people business. So the biggest thing that I didn't know was the human element. I just wanted to be a really good coach and have some fun and do some cool stuff. And then it's just over the years, almost in my 9th year of business, it's just how many humans you're dealing with and the problems that they go through, and being there with them during those times, and consuming some of that, whether you want to or not, That was a big part, like leading with our heart. It can also be kind of detrimental because it takes a huge toll out of you. So part of me as a leader is trying to like grow over the years and learn how to handle that. Yeah, no, like just from the top down, being good, not being arrogant, because that's a big one in our industry. I think people could see that, like maybe you come in and you see me a certain way, but right away I'm trying to, break the ice and just be like, there's no ego here. Like we're all learning every day. We're all trying to get better, and we're a big family. And honestly, stopping individuals that had ego at the door, because we have a policy where you have to do a 60-minute or 60 to 90-minute intro session where we're teaching you everything we know one-on-one. And people that are like, I don't need that, we're like, well, then that's a good indicator that you probably won't fit into our community since you know everything already. So like that was the big part, protecting what we had inside the walls, essentially. But secret sauce is, I'll give you the secret sauce. It's like, you build the community from the top down with goodness from the top down. You create events to keep them engaged and keep it exciting. You take care of the facility at the highest level because there's people that really care about that, and it's a cleanliness issue. And then you have to be very on top of your game with how your product is evolving over the years, and that it's staying high level and just fast, effective results without being kind of gimmicky. And that's kind of how it all played out.
Yeah. You said leadership, so I'd like to touch on that a little bit, and actually bring it back to the past at the Marine Corps. So, how has your experience in the Marines shaped your leadership style, both in your business and building a strong community at Black Ops Fitness?
Yeah. The number one thing, there was, so many things, like honestly, to be real, because I think this is important, like, especially as men, like I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of doubt over the years, and especially in the Marine Corps where it started. I was just an 18-year-old kid. And it's kind of like a wild environment, the Marine Corps. And so you got to kind of raise yourself up to that intensity and aggressiveness. And so it took time to kind of find my place there. Attention to detail was a huge thing I learned from the Marine Corps. Like they just inspect the crap out of you. You always foul because of this little thing, this little thing. That just taught me an extreme, attention to detail, but also I have like a little ism that falls in line with like OCD type of stuff. So that's been a big part. It helps me with the like moving numbers and the moving parts of business. So it kind of was like gas on the fire for my OCD, but it really pays off to this day. So where I can walk in the gym and I see everything. And then also it told me to hold myself accountable. And I found it to be the most rewarding thing, and there was one point where I got at such a important level for myself. I just wanted to work when I was a drill instructor. And so you get in trouble, they call you down, the command's like blasting me. And I'm really just sitting there and I'm like, are you finished? Like, can I go back and do my job? Not like in a disrespectful way, like in honest to goodness. I was like, I understand. I'm ready to go back to work. And so what that helped me with when I got out, like I say, if I didn't take those hits in the Marine Corps, when COVID, the shutdown, with all the personal hits, you just have a high threshold for pain. And so small business to me, I don't talk about, I didn't make money fast. You know what I mean? It's been a slow game for me. So what I share that could be valuable to people is like, you got to give yourself time, and that's kind of veering from the whole leadership thing. But if you can take some of the pressure off and you have someone to support you, or you're by yourself supporting yourself, you got to give yourself a decade, you know what I mean? Probably most likely to, and at least in what we've been doing. So attention to detail, kind of being able to take hits and keep moving forward, leading from the front, trying to be really true to your word, which again is holding yourself accountable, and then just extreme, insane work ethic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. With the decade, yeah. I mean, that's absolutely hits home for me. Is you don't make a lot of, if you keep reinvesting and work your ass off, you're not making money in the beginning years at all. You're just reinvesting, putting in the grind, building the brand, and then eventually you start to see that upward parabolic. Like, man, this works. This is paying off. All right, this is cool.
Yeah. And I think for both of us, and not sorry to interrupt, but like, let's not fake it till you make it. But like, we both present our brand in a very energetic, attractive way. And you're putting in the groundwork behind the scenes, you're taking the hits. But like, I think that is a big part of manifesting. Like, you're just like, I'm not going to quit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get everything right, but like, I'm going to showcase this as a very attractive, energetic, sexy vibe, because that's kind of what the lifestyle I want to live. And then you give yourself that decade. And there's a line from Jimmy Iovine, and he did Dr. Dre and NWA, and he linked up Dre and Eminem, and it's an awesome documentary. I think it's on HBO, but he just has a line of like, how did you make this success? Because he eventually him and Dr. Dre sell the Beats headphones to Apple, and it's just like, and he was just like, I just basically was willing to take more shit than everyone else, and I didn't quit. And sometimes it's just that simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to take the hits that life throws at you every single day. Get up, learn from them, and keep going on your vision, on your journey, and not taking no for an answer, not quitting when times are tough, throwing band-aids on and keep rolling. So balancing, business ownership, right? Being an entrepreneur, being a father of four, maintaining your own fitness regimen must be challenging. Like balancing life, integration, whatever you may call it. I go by integration. Life is business, business is life. What are your daily habits or routines to stay focused and effective, with your relation? Because I know you're a big family man, an awesome father, an awesome husband. You are the epitome
Looks that way
of
sometimes.
family, right? So, what's that look like for you?
So it's always evolved over the years, and it changed a lot. I grew the business a lot at night. The early years when I was coaching and did all the social media, and that was kind of the vibe of the brand. So I never really had this super strict routine. And as an entrepreneur, that gave me freedom. Now I did work a lot. So I work 7 days a week, you know what I mean? And it's in a way, and as being a religious guy, it's a struggle. Like, we're supposed to keep the Sabbath holy. And I did some research, and they're like, as long as you take a portion of your Sunday to relax and calm down, you can still hustle and get some work. So honestly, the 7-day work week has been, for me, over the first 9 years, has been essential. Like, I was having children, and I was looking in the space, and I'm like, and this is, not everyone can have children. It's a blessing to have them. But I was like, it's not easy to run a business with children, and so I was just watching the landscape locally, and I was like, no one seems to be hitting it that hard, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, I'm going to hit it hard as I can, you know what I mean? So on the weekends, I'm working and I'm trying to develop things, and I guess, always trying to develop and get better. My morning routine is like, when I have my coffee and espresso, that's my flow time. So I don't go work out early in the morning like a lot of people do that have their, disciplined, dedicated regimen, because that breaks up my flow time. I can still get stuff done in the afternoon and night, but like when I have my creative, I like to just go. It's with my coffee at my standing desk from 8 to like 10:30, depending on what I'm doing, what I'm working on. And, part of that is like, sometimes it takes 45 minutes to clean the kitchen before I can get that moving, from the night before. Or, I guess I've come accustomed to working. Like I pushed my business to the point where I didn't have to be there all the time. And that wasn't easy. And it came with a lot of challenges as well, and hits. But now it's at a point where I do have the freedom to work from home for the most part, while still staying in contact with my team and keeping, a finger on the pulse, and then going in. So my workouts vary anywhere after like 10:30 to 2. And when I screw it up is when I haven't eaten and worked out, and it's like 2:30, and that's when it sucks. It's just like,
oh yeah.
But honestly, like, I didn't do it the most healthy way. Like, I had a ton of injuries, especially coming from the Marine Corps, because when you go to the gym, it's not your gym, it's the customer's gym. And I'm going to see every little thing that's wrong. And that, over the years, that's really hurt me when I try to push a workout and I kind of not focused on myself. And so, but at 42, I've now kind of come to an acceptance of that. And I have enough injuries where I realize I have limitations, and it's okay. I just am enjoying, I guess, like being on the podcast today with you as someone who's been to the gym, and kind of the bigger picture stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I am getting some time to slow down, as crazy as that sounds, with 4 children. And maybe Anastasia, my youngest, is 2 months, and she's kind of helped to slow me down a little bit, or be a little more, I guess, see bigger picture a little bit.
Okay. In the now, maybe.
Yeah. Like, things aren't, no matter how bad they are, they're really not that bad. You know what I mean? Like, you can get through it.
Right. I mean, we do live in America, even though it may be not the America it should be, but we still do live in America, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, as entrepreneurs, business owners, high performing professionals, we obviously learn from somebody, or look up to somebody, or have a mentor, coach of some aspect. Has there been any books, podcasts, mentors that have significantly influenced your approach to leadership and fitness?
So for mentors, before I go to to the entrepreneurial space, you know, for me, it's been my parents, you know what I mean? It's the most amazing example of just hard work and sacrifice. And so that's always ingrained in me to the core. So I kind of was super blessed and lucky to have great parents, and they had me when they were older. So my dad didn't spend a lot of time with me in that sense of like, but I always really appreciate what they did for me. And then I'm the youngest of six. So my family has been amazing. Then there's my wife, Kelly, who's the biggest support and driving force for me. And, you and I, Jake, share some similarities, and like we're very like we could make this without them. You know what I mean? Kind of approach. Maybe I'm putting you on blast there, but that self drive helps us. But like to be honest with you, it would have been a whole different world without her. So, but in the fitness space, it's interesting you asked that because I was working at my brother's engineering firm. I was doing the personal training at night, and I was doing a 5 a.m. CrossFit class for my fitness. So it was like full day, weeks. I wasn't doing it every single day like that, but pretty much. And only for like 3 month period, nothing crazy long. But oh no, so I had opened my first location in the hood, and it wasn't doing great, right? It wasn't like it's the back of the bad part of town. So there's no eyes on it, period. And no one in the neighborhood. And they were nice, but like no one's coming around. I mean, there was drug shootings like right down the street. I didn't tell her. Our last day there was a shooting. Like you throw a stone to the corner where there was a shooting, but we made it through. So, but I was sitting at the engineering firm before I, broke for the day at 5 to go run a class, and I'm like, man, this is just not working. And I got on YouTube and just stumbled across Bedros Keuilian, and it was like this video. He's like talking to all these entrepreneurs as an entrepreneurial coach, and it's something like dominate the industry. I forget exactly what the video was now, but it just like really put a spark in me to be like, I can do this. I can make this happen. And he's a former gym owner, the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. So from the fitness space, he was a big help. And I actually shot a podcast with him. I flew out to California, and it was a great talk. I tried to interview him as a man more so than an entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Just like, so I could learn a little bit about his background. And it was cool to see a lot of similarities in us. So he was definitely, that video was huge for me. And after that, studying his thing. And then there was another guy named Marcus Gurzy. And there's more that I can't think of now, but I think he's the best hour of your day. He created his own coaching mentorship program in CrossFit space, but he gave me a ton of good advice from a business standpoint. And then with every party, there's stuff I don't agree with. So I have to stay in my flow for what I do with my brand. But like those guys definitely gave me some gems, and Bedros gave me leadership in that video when I needed it. So he's got a ton of content out there, and he touches on every aspect of the entrepreneurial space. So there's a lot of good value from him. And then just finally, Chad Wright is a former Navy SEAL. He's just got dope stuff. So if you ever need a little pick me up, Chad Wright, he's a little Southern boy with long blonde hair now, and he runs ultras, but he's a great orator, and his little motivational speeches are amazing. Just to touch on one, we just shared this with our coaches team, and it helped us dial in our core values, but he's like talking about the teams and stuff. And he's like, if your teammates are selfless, if they put the interest of the team before themselves, and your entire team does that, he's like, you're unstoppable. He's like, no one can kill you. And so it was just a nice little motivator to hear that. And then we have the team around us now that we are selfless, and we're all humble, and we're all trying to help each other. So those are some dudes that helped out. There's been more, but
yeah, they all got some good stuff for sure. Speaking about teams, what roles, let me rephrase this. What role does the community aspect play in the success of Black Hawk Fitness? So like, how do you foster the sense of like belonging to your members? Because that's super important. Like that sense, because like people go to a regular gym, right? They don't eventually
Sure.
they die out, right? Because they don't have an accountability partner or a friend that they can work out with, or a sense of belonging. And
Right.
that's really what I personally think that, one aspect I love about Black Ops Fitness is it's like a tribe, it's community. Like everybody's holding everybody accountable. You don't feel like doing it that day. You look at the person beside you and be like, shit, they're fucking doing it.
Right.
Like I got to do it too. I'm letting myself down, but I'm actually letting them down too by not participating in it as well. So like,
Yeah.
how do you foster that sense of belonging amongst your members to have that feeling that everybody gets?
Yeah. So I'm working with an entrepreneur in Wilmington, and we both know him. He's a media owner, media operator, content creator. And he came to me, and we had been working together off and on for a couple of years, but then we just had a recent meeting, and I'm like, dude, it's time to go all in together. And he was talking, he's like, man, the community you built, he's like, I tell other business owners, like, they should come and talk to you about that. And of course, none of them do, but it is the truth. And this is the big secret sauce, I believe, and it's free. You know what I mean? Like, it's free. So what we do is we just treat people like humans with respect and meet them for who they are. And no matter, we have every shape, size, walk of life. It's not our business to judge anyone. It's our business to protect our house and our community. So number one is just getting to know people's names. It's something so simple. You know what I mean? So when we have a workout brief, that's how we start every class. And you bring up a group of people, and sometimes they're strangers or someone's new. It's intimidating. It's a new fitness program. We do run at intensity levels, and that's intimidating. And maybe they're just starting to join and try 2 workouts that were really tough for them. So for me, when I teach the coaches this, it's like making a big deal of your newest members and joking with your veterans and putting ownership on your veterans and giving them authority in positions. And that's something I want to do more in the future. I'm just starting to stumble upon this like idea of authority for our community, the right ones, like putting them in an ownership of something, but really like tending the flock, like taking care of each other. And so at that brief, say it's Jake's second workout. And so I haven't coached you yet because you went to a morning class and now I'm coaching at night. And maybe there's 2 other people I haven't seen in a while. And so I'll just like stop the blueprint and I'm just like, how's everybody doing? How about everybody just introduce yourself tonight again? Because I don't want to forget your name. And so we go, it's kind of corny, but everyone says their name, just one word. And right there, we've had connection. Everyone in that room is now connected because they've all heard everyone's name. So later on in the class, if they do stumble upon each other, maybe, you know what I mean? There's connection, there's something already started. And then I'll introduce the newest member and maybe I have a little fun fact about them. They just got engaged or something. And then we clap for them and people are just like, so right away it's just family. You just create the sense of family. And I watched this documentary and it's like this French bistro owner, but he was like talking about chefs and he's like, we've forgotten that we're craftsmen. We're not celebrities. And so we think the customers, you know, like they owe us something when it's the opposite. We need to get back to our craft and like with real estate, no matter what it is, I mean, your customers, you gotta go in on them, you know, because they're the people that value your service and they're there. And so if you create that culture of care for one another, and then my favorite moments are when the gym is packed. There's like 20 people. We got friggin' gangster rap and cuss words blaring. It's so inappropriate. And everybody's lifting and they're just like all gelling together and laughing. The quiet athletes like just leaning against the wall, chilling because he can be quiet and no one cares because they know that's his flow. And so I just know that's when I feel the best about what we do. And it's like, fuck money. You know what I mean? Like, we'll figure this out. You know what I mean? Like, we got to keep this going. This is so awesome. And you're so unique. And so I think really just leading with the heart and being compassionate and gaining that trust with people and then just being careful to have boundaries. But that's pretty much how I did it.
Yeah, and like I'm a real people watcher. Like I like studying people.
Yeah.
And you know, for instance, like yourself, you know, when you've coached classes, I've always, like you said, you like ask people or like introduce yourself in the crowd. But then you also go out a different way too. You've learned these members' personalities. So sometimes you may throw, you know, a sentence out to a certain individual, but you know their personality. So you can say a few more things that maybe like puts them on the spot or like, you know, puts them on blast.
But in a loving way.
But in a loving way, but it connects you to even more. And, you know, like you've learned the community, you've learned the individual that goes there and how to cultivate the message to them to where it just brings everybody together even more.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing. And that's it's so true. Like I talk to the coaches about soft and hard, you know, coming in and out like of a correction or a talking point, and then just having fun, man. You know what I mean? Like once, like you said, like we have some funny stuff we'll do with the girls, like, or I'll just call them an endearing term to me, but that means like they're that much closer to me and they love it every time. Like it's always like, because you just mess with them, you just mess with people and you gain their trust, and like it just makes it so much fun. And you can see because that's the other thing. Like the world is so tough, people aren't used to kindness. So we'll get a lot of people and they have their guard up, and it takes some people like 6 months to figure us out. Like they're people watching, and they're like, at one point they eventually learn they can let their guard down, and we have to protect that. But that's the thing, like meeting people where they're at and having someone who might have been let's say how can I politely put this? So you have the jock, and then you have the kid that wasn't a jock, right? Maybe they had some consternation in high school, but those two archetypes or avatars come into our gym, and they're together and they're lifting together. And now you've just broken all that nonsense from the past of like people treating others entitled sense of way, or anyone's better than anyone else, like negative. You know what I mean? Like we're all quirky together, and like he's stronger, I'm weaker. I lift, the girls next to me are lifting more than me, so I'll joke about that. You know what I mean? And that's huge because I don't think people see that much, you know, or at least if it's genuine when we do it. It's not
right.
But you're right. I mean, you have figured out a little bit of our secret twist there.
Yeah, it's super important to make people feel that they're in a good place, that they belong, and then, like you said, they can let their guard down so they can be who they are, right? So many people, are only who they are behind closed doors, like in their home, right? They go to a gym like Black Ops Fitness, and they can joke around, be free, and be who they are, and not be judged in a place where judgment is usually full on blast, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
it's funny when I hear that though, because like I'm so lost. It doesn't like that doesn't compute with me. I'm like, what? Like people are like, I'm intimidated. I'm like, why? Like we're teddy bears. Like, come on in. So it's funny. I'm so family oriented, and I love people so much. Like when they come in, I'm just, as long as the energy's right. Like even when it's not right, I'm still cool. But like when it's the dark energy, you're like, all right, I got to get this out of here. But I'm just like, why? What are you intimidated by? We're awesome. Like, come on in, let's hang out. Like, so it's funny. I don't feel that, and I have to figure that out in people. But
so, as we wrap it up here, as if you could give one piece of advice for an aspiring entrepreneur or somebody that's taking the leap into the fitness training, whether that's trying to start their gym, become a personal trainer, nutrition, whatever it may be, entrepreneur mindset in general, looking to make a significant impact. What would your piece of advice be?
One.
It could be maybe.
I'll go brief. Like, okay, number one, you have to start. Like you have to start. It's that simple. It doesn't matter if you know what you're doing. If you're going to be a success, this is for people who are going to be successful, right? This is the advice. There's people that jump into this space that I'm just going to be honest with you. Maybe that's it. Maybe take a hard look at what you're willing to sacrifice and be willing to go through for 5 to 10 years. And maybe this isn't the space for you. But if it is, and you can push yourself, you have to start. You have to start somewhere. And then I do believe, there's so many things, but I think mentorship is a big one. Like you're not going to be around people that understand you ever for the most part. So like, you're not going to get any positive motivation. Like a lot of people are going to try to protect you because they love you and they're going to tell you to stop this or don't do that. So that's really interesting to deal with. And it's a very lonely world, so like getting around, asking other business owners and coming with a giving hand rather than a taking hand, like come to that business owner and, hey, is there any way I can do something? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not coming asking for something, but asking some business owners that have a lifestyle you want or doing something in the space that you want to do, and see if there's some way that you can network with them and connect with them in a very respectful way, because generally those are high performers. And so they came up the hard way, and you got to come correct a little bit. It doesn't mean, does that make sense? So networking and learning from others in the space, and then not having ego. Like, well, you're going to have an ego no matter what, but like learning how to control it and learning that can get you in deep trouble. Like you always have to be humble to learn. There's no such thing as easy money, at least that I've ever seen. So if it's easy, something's about to happen bad. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's not going to happen like that. And you have to be aware of that. And then give yourself a decade, because when it's hard, that'll take a lot of the pressure off. And I don't do it enough. I still put that pressure on myself, but I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You have to have ego, but you have to be able to control it, because too much ego will get you in trouble and get you squashed. Nobody will want to do business with you or become a client or whatever, but you do need some type of ego enough for it to where like, hey, I can do this shit. I can do this shit. I'm going to make it happen.
100%.
Like never
That's
quit.
a great quote. Like when it got super tough, and I just feel like, man, nobody can do this but you. No one would do this to their family but you. And that will give you power. Like they're speaking things out loud and then holding yourself accountable to it has created a lot in my life. 100%. And I think people call that manifestation and stuff like that. But It's real. Like, you want to own a space, go sit in the parking lot, stare at it. I did that. Like, bring that energy in, visualize, your future there. And anything that doesn't work out was meant to not work out. So
Right,
that's
right.
a good thing. And it's a good thing.
I manifest, like, people make vision boards and they cut out magazines and make them for like their New Year's resolution thing, or maybe just for like in general. They
Mhm.
make it and they hang it on their wall. I was like, man, that's not good enough for me. I made a vision portrait. So I have, like, in my office, um, I have a bunch of portraits of all the visionary things that I need to manifest. So I look at that and I'm like, all right, this is real nice and neat. I had these pictures printed out at CVS, or like you said, go show up. And if you want that dream car, go up, look at it, go on the weekends, go to the dealership, start envisioning yourself driving it.
That's
But
what I
like,
do. I buy things I can't afford, and then I have to work. I'm just kidding.
hey, it's
I have to
not
work to get
you
it.
can't afford it or I can't afford it. It's how can I afford it?
Sure, yeah.
That's always the motto to approach it. How can I
Yeah.
afford that? It's not
Yeah.
that I have a spending problem. I have an income problem. How can I make
Right.
more money?
Yeah.
Uh, but like you said, give it a decade. Some people get lucky, right? And it's not necessarily lucky, like
Right.
this may happen differently
Talent
for
driven.
them, right? And they're able to hit that pinnacle success very fairly quickly because a few, some few tweaks. It's not because they're better than you, right?
Sure.
It's just there was a few tweaks that they did that where they propelled way quicker, you
Mhm.
know. But then there's people that it takes a decade, and which that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Uh, don't
And there's
stop.
consequences to every side, like,
Yeah,
because I mean, if you blew up all that tons of money and then you see all the tech people, what they go through, I'm like, I'm good, man. I'll stick with my slow and steady, like I don't need
right.
that. I don't need that in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, next
But
thing you know, you need Cayman Islands accounts or something like that. I'm just
yeah,
kidding. If the IRS is listening, I'm totally joking.
it's no one on the IRS list.
But, Antonio, for the listeners who want to connect with you, learn more about Black Ops Fitness, and they're in the area, they want to check the gym out, get a lift in, learn about your memberships, what's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is the most visual place where you can see what we're about, and it's kind of like our fun storytelling platform. So just BLK OPS Fitness on Instagram. I have my own personal, but the businesses I run both, so it's easier to just hit me up on the business. And then our website is blackopsfitness.com. So again, BLKOPSfitness.com. We have a contact form on there, and there's a welcome at Black Ops Inc. Email address. You just hit that up. My top tier girl will get right back to you because she's on it and she's got attention to detail. And then it's all chill from there. It's all happy shit. Like we'll be like, hey, you want to come work out? We figure this is a good day for you to come in, come try it out. And yeah, it's a good place to be. Like if you're in a rut and you're local, and you're looking, no matter what stage of life you're in, and you want to change. I mean, we're helping a lot of people, honestly, and it's a great community to be in. Like you said, they'll pick you up, and that's our culture. So like, unless you don't like us, that's pretty much the only way you won't enjoy your time there.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Antonio, it was a pleasure having you on Philly Fortune Talks.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Philly Fortune Talks with Jake Penny. Inspired to share your success story? Visit phillyfortunetalks.com/guest and let's inspire together.